If you're in the GCC startup world, you know the ground is always shifting. It's high stakes, it's fast-paced, and for founders, survival often comes down to one critical thing. And, well, it's probably not what you think it is.
So let's just start with the most important question right off the bat. Imagine this. Your startup has to pivot right now. You've got the new business plan, you've got the new tech roadmap, but look at your team. Are the people, the actual human engine of your company, are they really equipped to handle that kind of massive shift?
You see, in the GCC startup scene, a pivot isn't some kind of detour or a sign of failure. It's the main road. The market here demands constant change, which means being able to pivot isn't a bonus. It's a fundamental requirement for survival. Let's dig into why that is. I mean, the sheer speed of change in the region is just staggering. You've got these massive national projects like Saudi Vision 2030 completely rewriting the rules. You've got new regulations and things like fintech and data residency popping up, sometimes with very little warning. And consumer behavior, it's shifting all the time as governments push for more digital adoption. All of this means the ground is literally constantly moving under your feet.
So here's the bottom line, the crucial point. If you are not prepared to pivot, you are just not prepared to compete in the GCC. It really is that simple. Constant adaptation is the new baseline for success here.
Okay, so let's get to the real heart of the problem. When a pivot becomes necessary, most founders, honestly, they start focusing on the wrong things. They completely misdiagnose the challenge, and that's usually where it all starts to go sideways.
And this slide just lays it out perfectly. The obvious view, the one everyone jumps to, is focusing on the technical stuff. Securing new funding, coding the product changes, rewriting the business model. But the winning view, the perspective that actually determines if you'll succeed or fail, focuses on human capability. How does your leadership team perform under intense pressure? How quickly can the entire team align on a new direction and just execute?
Because here's the hard truth. A brilliant new strategy is completely useless if your team can't execute it. The real risk isn't that your new idea is bad. The real risk is the internal friction, the confusion, the resistance, the weak alignment that just grinds all that precious forward momentum to a halt.
So, what's the answer? How do you build a team that can actually navigate these incredibly high-pressure situations? Well, the answer lies in something we can call the human capability stack. Think of it as your team's secret weapon. This so-called stack is built on 4 core skills. Together, they form this incredibly powerful toolkit for managing change. You could even call it your pivot survival kit. Let's break down what's inside. Okay, so let's really dive into what these skills are and, more importantly, what they actually do for your startup when you're in the middle of a pivot. Think of these as the practical, hands-on tools you need to manage all that uncertainty.
All right, first up, emotional intelligence. And let's be clear, this is not about just being nice. This is about a leader's ability to maintain absolute clarity and manage their own stress when everything is on the line, because your team is watching you. They take all their cues from the top. And you know, there's a quote that just nails this point. When a founder can communicate with calm, structured logic, it acts like a stabilizing force for the entire organization. It just cuts right through the anxiety and lets the team actually focus on the work.
And the impact here is so tangible. It helps founders manage their own immense pressure, which in turn builds confidence in the team. And it also extends outwards, right? It helps you maintain trust with your investors because you're communicating realistic timelines and constraints, not just panic or a bunch of false promises.
Next up, adaptability. Now this is the operational side of the coin. This is the skill of being able to change course without getting stuck in the mud. It's about flexible thinking that translates directly into fast action.
So, how does this work in the real world? It's a simple but incredibly powerful cycle. You release early versions of your product, get them into the hands of real customers, collect that raw, honest feedback, and then you refine your product quickly. This loop, release, learn, refine, is what separates the startups that move fast from the ones that get left behind. And the results? Well, for one, you find product market fit way faster because you're learning from the actual market, not from your own internal assumptions. You avoid that deadly trap of perfectionism, and you build a culture that's always looking for creative solutions instead of defensively clinging to old, outdated ideas. And finally, we have 2 skills that pretty much act as your company's nervous system: active listening and clear communication. Think of it this way. Listening is about accurate input, truly understanding what the market and your own team are really saying. And communication is about clear output, making sure everyone, and I mean everyone, understands the new direction. They are totally inseparable.
A pivot usually fails for one of two reasons. Either you completely misread the market, or your own team doesn't understand the new plan. Active listening to your customers? That prevents the first problem. Listening to your team's internal concerns? That prevents low morale and resistance. And simple, clear, consistent communication. That ensures everyone is pulling in the exact same direction with confidence.
So, let's bring this all home. It is time to stop thinking of these skills as soft or just nice to haves, because in the modern GCC market, they are your new competitive advantage. They are hard assets.
And if there is one thing you take away from this whole explainer, let it be this. These human capabilities are not soft. They are hard, strategic assets that directly impact your bottom line and your very ability to survive.
And the results really do speak for themselves. Teams with these skills have so much less friction and chaos during a pivot. They have better talent retention because people feel stable and confident. Decision-making is faster, more assured, and the company as a whole is just fundamentally better at responding to all those crazy market shifts we talked about at the beginning.
And on the flip side, here's the warning. In a region where the competition for top talent is absolutely fierce, companies that only hire for technical skills are going to find themselves outmaneuvered. They'll face talent gaps, and their execution will be slower precisely at the moments they need to be faster.
So, let's end right where we began, with a question for you to really think about. You spend countless hours and a ton of resources building your product, your platform, your technology. That's great. But have you spent the time to consciously and deliberately build the human capabilities of your team? Because in the end, that is what will decide if you win.